We are live. All right.
Like right now.
Yep. Yep. We are live. Orthodox. Hello from California. Looking forward to this stream. Awesome. Well, I'm looking forward to it as well. My name is Buck Johnson, your host and humble narrator of the Counterflow podcast. Excuse me. See, this is why I don't do live all the time. I have editors that would have bleeped that out. But I do want to do these live streams more often. So I am very excited to have a friend of the show.
Yes.
John Heers is here. And
it's the worst, but it's true. It's my name.
Yeah, he's Heers. Hello, Fran. John, I'll let you give a quick little intro for yourself, and then we'll kind of, just for you guys listening, we'll feel free to ask questions along the way, and we'll try to get some of those answered. John, can you see the questions in the chat?
I can't. How can I do that with this fancy StreamYard of yours? Maybe
on your end, I don't know how, to be quite honest.
I probably got to put up the YouTube. Well, or you can share them with me.
Share them with you. Yeah. What I see. Orthodox.
Sorry, I got some
Orthodox
stuff.
Boomer grandma says that she.
Wait, I know her.
Yeah, she said she messaged you.
She's very cool.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of cool people out there that when you get right down to it, it's kind of like it actually is a community, but I still don't trust it. Do you trust it? I get weirded out by it.
You do?
I haven't gotten comfortable yet. I'm old, bro.
You're not that much older. How old are you?
Yesterday was my birthday. I turned 58. How about that?
58?
Yeah, man.
Many years to you. Happy birthday. I thought you were, I'm 47. I thought you were going to say you're like 51 or something.
Oh, take it.
Goodness. All right.
I'm still one of those guys who hasn't come to grips with his mortality. You may know some people like that. You might even be one.
That is me as well. Yeah, aging isn't fun all the time. I mean, I'm having fun, but there's little things.
No, right. It's both.
Yeah, both and, as we like to say. Mano from the Study of Stuff. Welcome, man. Good to see you here. John, I'll let you give an intro about what you do, who you are, and then we'll get into all kinds of stuff.
Okay, cool. John Heers. I am an Orthodox convert. I know a lot of folks on this pod. That's a mojo out there with Counterflow. And I'm 30 years though. So I was an ortho bro before there was ortho bros. And that led to lots of things, but fundamentally my life has been a series of a series of international aid moments coming out of college till I got married, and then a series of teaching in tough neighborhoods and becoming an educator for a while. And then about 8 years ago, returning to the aid and starting a nonprofit and running First Things Foundation, and speaking on a good day 5, but mostly 4 languages, and then more like 3 because I'm old and I'm losing track. And so my life is that with 4 daughters sandwiched in the middle. And now everything we do on the internet is about trying to get people to see the proper side, the good side, the wonderful creative side of aid, how to really truly give. And so that's what First Things Foundation is, and that's what I run. And now I've been bamboozled by my brother into doing a movie, but it's awesome. And the movie's called Christianities. And for a long time, my brother was like, if I'm involved, if I'm clearly involved, then fewer people will want to support it from the outside. And I'm like, yeah, so guess what? There's no way out, bro. You're involved and you should be in the film. And he's like, I don't want to be in the film. And so I'm like, you should not really be in the film because you will bum everyone out. Because if we're going to talk to a bunch of Christians, you might not have the greatest track record for that. So I said, why don't I do it? And then why don't you and I have this narrative within the film, which is we sort of represent the tension that goes on between all of these Christianities. Like on some level, he's an inside guy and I'm an outside guy. And so I said, let's let's make the movie like it's a real thing in our life. Like we fight a lot, Buck. And I
You
said,
guys do?
yeah, well, we could talk about it today, but we don't. It's about present. The cake is baked the same, but then, like, really though, what kind of frosting are you going to put on that? Because it kind of matters. Like,
Right.
you walk past the table with a cake, the frosting's kind of important, and you want people to get closer to the cake, not further away. So the question is how to live in the world always, and that's what we fight about. And so that's kind of the tension of the film, if you think about it. Like, what is the outside world to an Orthodox, and what is the inside world, and how do they meet? Like, how do you go about speaking to someone who's a Mormon?
Right. Right.
Are they Christians? You might not want to start with, well, you're damned. You can. I'm not against that. I don't even know if it's true though. But the thing is like, that's not to accuse my brother of that, but it is to accuse a lot of people of that.
Uh-huh.
So this is the tension in the film that we hope to not only demonstrate as per these two brothers, but also to demonstrate as per Christians. Like, for instance, are we cousins, siblings, strangers? What is this thing? What's going on with all these Christianities? Because it's an actual question I have, like, actually. So I think that's what's going on. That's what's going on in the film. And we got a guy named Stephen Downey, or Scooter, who's a pro, man, and he's going to direct it. Well, we're doing it as we speak.
I will say, for those listening who maybe don't know, that's probably most of you do know, but his brother is Father Peter Heers.
Oh, thank you. I didn't even really mention his name.
Right. But I think most of these people understand when they see the last name who you might be referencing. And I feel like is it a good cop, bad cop thing? It's funny that you said, well, maybe you shouldn't be in it or something.
Well, your show is the show where we're trotting out the tension, because before we were going to try to do sort of behind the scenes producer guy was going to be my brother. He is the producer.
Okay.
I'm that actor, but I'm not acting. I'm the guy with the restaurant, which is mostly true. And then I'll explain that. And then Stephen is the director par excellence, who's trying to navigate these two screaming people. Screaming here, I say jokingly, but it's a type of screaming. There's a type of big brother, little brother thing going on that's really real. And we just decided to lean into it. And your show is, well, we're coming out of the closet.
We're unveiling this.
Yeah, because we want you guys to go support it.
Okay. I have something to ask you then.
Please.
It's not totally about the film, but as I mentioned to you via text, I'm going with your brother to Mount Athos. Have you been there?
You're on that trip, aren't you?
I am.
I have been there.
What do I expect?
Well, I went with my brother. And so you should expect to move around a lot. Yeah. He's energetic. If you're going with him, right?
Yes, sir.
You should expect to not sleep a lot.
Okay.
Both because of the way the mountain works and also because of the way he works.
Okay.
You should expect deep insights because he knows everybody. He knows everybody up there. And that's the joy of going with him. As for Athos, just as an experience, here's how I equate it. The people I know that have gone and the people that I've worked with in First Things and also for myself, it's like you're going to leave with a stank. You're going to leave with like a smell, a beautiful smell. And it's just going to waft around, and you're going to want to reclaim that smell every now and then. And it's going to be found in the church, because what the parish is doing is what the mountain is doing, but like writ large. It's like when I play hoops and pick up hoops, I'm doing what Michael Jordan is doing. Mostly. Not exactly. And you're going to want that. You're going to play pickup with Michael Jordan, and then you're going to come back and be like, man, that was pretty cool playing pickup hoops with Michael Jordan. Like, it was pretty cool being in those vigils and seeing folks who live their life according to the true time, not not fallen in time. So that's what I would say to
Okay.
expect. It's probably not helpful.
No,
Like
it is.
you're like, bring 2 toothbrushes. Like, is that what you were like? Bring
No,
one.
no, no. Just kind of a general
Yeah. No, I'm kidding.
vibe, you know.
I think that's what I would say, that your mind is going to not well, here's another thing. Watch out for expectations, because all that fancy stuff I just told you is also going to be accompanied with like toothbrush questions and
Yeah.
all the parts of life that you think you're going to not experience. They're still there.
Sure, sure. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm like, how big is the suitcase do I bring? There is
Right.
those
That's
those
all real.
too. Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, can I bring face creams to make sure I look younger? No, I'm joking. Um,
Well, also, this is going to happen. Like, did that guy, he seemed like he didn't like me. What was I supposed to say there? And just like that kind of stuff's going to happen.
your brother is in the chat and he says,
What?
just pray to the Theotokos and she will take care of everything.
That
That
is right.
I appreciate that.
That's what he's doing right now, because I'm on your show speaking for the movie. Believe me.
Well, let's get into the movie then.
All right.
Let's first, I'll let you paint with the broad brush what it is, how it came about, why you're doing it, etc.
Well, I think the first thing that happened was my brother was just very sure that we're in a cultural moment that is inviting anybody with half a spiritual moment in their veins to reinvestigate or to investigate the church. The question is, what is the church? And that's sort of an extension of the question, what is Christianity? And so he was convinced of that, but so am I. So are a lot of people. But I was seeing it like talking to 25-year-old guys who were like previously, I don't know, like the guy I'm thinking of was involved with the occult. And he's like, I don't really want to do that anymore. I'd like to work for First Things and drop off the map. But same mojo, different group of people. And my brother's people were people who kind of already had a sense, and they wanted it rightly done. They wanted the proper explanation of what the heck was going on. And they wanted it from something like an old source. And I think what happened is we started talking, and we realized, like, we got to have a conversation where we sit people down who are honest people who call themselves Christians and have them try to explain what's going on, because everyone's going to flood back in. And that I will stick to this too, as a observer of overseas realities. It's happening everywhere. This isn't just like an American situation. It's the modernity has already entered Africa, like West Africa. The phones are there, and already West Africans are like, something's off. It's very suspicious of modernity, though they want its stuff. You know what I mean? And they are also reaching a cynical moment where it's like, there's got to be more. And I just think my brother's crew, I'm one of them. I don't go on his talks very often. Sorry, Father Peter. But I think because of the pandemic, and because Orthodox Ethos was saying certain things during the pandemic, he was sort of ahead of the curve and built this audience. And now together, he's like, we should keep talking. We should keep bringing this to more and more folks. And so I think he sees that I can do that in a way where I'm not a cleric. So I can say stupid stuff. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I can actually meet with princes from Sierra Leone and talk to Mozambican, children of slave owners there, and or Portuguese traders who moved slaves from these old castles. We can actually go to the castle, and you'll be like, well, what's that got to do with Christianity? Well, that was the actual reason that they built the castle, was so they could have a place to put the church for all the soldiers that were moving slaves all around the world in the Portuguese Empire. So like they were justifying much of their activity as Christians. So you're like, well, what's that got to do with anything? I know this is complicated. Like it's a complicated thing to try to figure out what's going on with all these Christianities. And so it started as that, as like, let's go further and deeper, and let's invite a whole bunch of people to our movie, and then of course to the tension between he and I as it goes. You know what? I gotta turn on a light here. It's fading. Can I turn on a light real quick?
You can do whatever you want.
It's right here. It's right here.
Hello, Lauren. Good to see you. There. Now
Better.
We've got your youthful glow.
Well, I'm in the little room where I shoot my own podcast.
I recognize it.
Yeah.
Yes.
I decided to turn it, like, make it look like the thing. So I don't know if that's good or bad.
Do you think that people will open up more because you're not a cleric? I mean, would there be pressure if it's Father Peter or an Orthodox priest or whatnot? Because it's like, well, I don't know how to answer this guy's questions because, I might step out of line or be called a heretic or something like that.
Well, that's when we sat down to storyboard the thing and figure out where we're gonna go. It's obvious right away. Father Peter can't be the guy interviewing, otherwise it's kind of weird. And the not because I'm gonna hide stuff,
right? It's
because you're in a more clinical conversation when a guy is a priest. You're going to have to first of all, you're only going to sit with certain types of people at that point, other theologian types, which is fine. We debated that, whether or not just to have a series of interviews with the smart people. But if it really is a cultural moment and it really is something like global, why wouldn't we hear from other people?
Right.
And you can, Father Peter's not going to, he's not wearing jeans and a t-shirt around. So you can, but if, it matters. Again, it's the chocolate frosting on the cake. How are you going to present this frosting? So one is a practical question. The other one is I love you, Father Peter. Is he still there? But
I believe so.
He's like a PhD trained in, he got his PhD in Greek.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's a certain, Father Peter, you think in a certain way, and that way is always to the top. It's toward the top. The top here being intellectual ideas that make a lot of sense, but not a lot of sense to everyone. And so we're trying to popularize this. It's like smart guy versus dumb guy. So I'm sort of going to try to do that. And hopefully I can climb high enough on the ladder where it's also interesting, both for those folks who don't love theological language, but yet we'll try to make it deeply and profoundly theological, because it has to be if it's a conversation about Christos. Like you got to go that direction, but you got to be willing. So my brother spends a lot of his time with folks on the internet, and they're good folks, but many of them are already there, ready for that vocabulary. Does that make sense?
It does. Yes. I'm aware of that. There's always that. Speaking of tension, when you present content like you present, or myself, I try not to make it over someone's head. I try to make it. And if my guest says something, I had Dr. Jeannie Constantinu on, and I said, can you explain why the church fathers mean so much to us and their commentary on the scriptures and whatnot? And she said, yeah, I never actually even thought that I'd get into that, because it's such a given to us.
Right.
But it's like, well, that's not a given to an inquirer or a Protestant, or, so I do try to do that with my content as well. Where are we going? Where are you guys going to be going for this, to shoot all of this?
So because the the trailer was the trailer was shot in our restaurant in Greenville, and it was shot. There's a lot more there in the trailer. There's a whole conversation that we shot. And I'll get into where we're going, but I want to tell you where it starts, and then I'll talk about where it's going. The conceit, it's not a conceit though. It's reality. Like, it's a thing. Is First Things Foundation has a restaurant. It's a nonprofit restaurant, and that's why I said I sort of own it. I'm not an owner. I don't have capital. The donors own it in that sense, and the board. But we opened a restaurant that throws these Georgian feasts. And, it's not by chance that they're Georgian feasts. The Georgians, this is the Caucasus, not the state. The Georgians have perfected the art of the middle. And that what I mean by that is they have been invaded by, if you pick a group right now, they've probably been invaded by them. Like, just say one, Russians, bingo, ding, ding. Mongols, ding, ding. You can pretty much, Turks, ding, ding. You can just throw one around, like try one out. Bulgarians, ding, ding. They just kind of all have invaded Georgia at one point or another. And so what the Georgians have been really good at is maintaining their faith while maintaining their hospitality.
Mm-hmm.
This is a freakish thing to be able to do, which is somehow love your neighbor and set a place for your enemy. Like, what? And they're just spectacular at it. And we've adopted this idea. And the restaurant is the starting place of the documentary because the Georgians, I think, have this right. And so part of the reason we start there is because at those dinners where there's this invite to like a conversation about higher things. I won't get into the whole table because we've done it on your show before. But the tables is an invite to the higher things. And what happens is, because I've thrown a lot of these, not just as recently, but even before, like in my family and in Georgia, what happens is you tend to move people toward the higher things. So for instance, I would do a nice poetic toast about your father, and it would probably be it would probably have a poetic intuition there about the father or a father figure or a leader. And there would be all these poetic attempts by the Tamada to get you to think about high things. And then inevitably people start talking about what is God. And then they start talking about what is Christianity. It's just like normal, right? Or if you're at a table overseas, for instance, with a bunch of Muslims, you really couldn't do the same table, but you would still move to the same ideas. Who is Allah? And so what happens is I've done a lot of these, and we realize that at the table in this cultural moment, people are talking about these things. And when they talk about these things, it gets confusing. So the first place we start is in the restaurant, and there's all these conversations. And then I go on an actual journey. So the journey is going to be filmed as per some of the work that we do at First Things. I just returned from Mozambique. I had to go. We're training a new guy. We took some footage, simple footage. We couldn't bring the film crew, but B-roll. I was just in South Africa. Really interesting, man. We're starting a project there in Sutherland, in Central Cape. And we've been invited by this energy company. And here we are. And that's going to be a location. Then the Georgian Republic for sure. Mount Athos for sure. We're arranging interviews right now with folks from all the spectrum. So we're going to go out to San Diego and talk to a guy named Ruslan, who does a huge podcast out there with Protestant folks, trying to figure out also this current moment. We're gonna be in Chicago, hopefully talking to Bishop Barron. He's on our list.
Okay.
We're going to, I can't say because some of these folks are like saying yes, but not saying yes yet.
Sure.
But Jonathan Pajot is going to appear on our documentary, Paul Kingsnorth.
Yes.
But these are the immediate ones. These are the Orthodox connections. They're some of the easiest for my brother and I. But that's not the goal, is to have a whole bunch of Orthodox guys tell you what Christianity is. That is not the goal. Jordan Peterson, there's Rick Warren, there's folks that we're attempting to get right now. And so where they are will be depending on the budget, and we'll shoot accordingly. But in terms of the overseas stuff, West Africa, East Africa, the Caucasus will be in Europe. We'll be in Ireland, and the whole idea is to get a big picture of this. And people are probably going, that's going to be really expensive. The director is expensive because he's really good. I'm donating my time. Father Peter is donating his time. And so that's cool. It's cool to have two big donations right away. And so I'm just really excited. So where are we going? Who are we speaking to? It's going to come out in drips and drabs because some of these people have said yes and some haven't yet.
Okay.
Does that help?
Yeah, that does help. There's so many places to go here. First off, I'm fascinated. I said this last time with the restaurant. Someone in the comments actually said, "Where was that?" I am a Greenville local. Will definitely check out the restaurant.
Oh, please.
Do those topics come up often at the table there?
So it really depends on the tamada. So the tamada is the Toastmaster. And again, in the Georgian table, the icon is they are sort of the son or the image of Christos who's offering the Eucharist.
Mm-hmm.
And then at the opposite end of the table would sit the oldest male. And that person would represent the father, right? Or the wisdom. And then, or you could actually say son and father. Mm-hmm. You could say bishop and priest. There's all these ways to understand the role of the two ends of the table. But the tamada is given the authority in Georgia to take the table where it has to go. And so I like to take it there. So if I were to give a toast, so often I'll sing the Theotokian to a bunch of people. I don't even know if they're Protestant. I don't know what they are. I just know here's a song that's often sang to start the feast. Not always, but often. And then someone will say, "Oh, were you talking about like Mary?" And I'll say, "Yes." Then maybe I'll do a toast to women. And then someone will say, "Well, are all women equal?" Like and then someone will toast to men. And then what happens is in that toasting, you start to see these conversations break out.
Okay.
So the question now is, and they're not public at that point. You can see as your tamada, you're watching. And you'll see someone down there who really wants to talk about something. And then the question is, will you invite that topic? And the tamada's job is not to invite the topic that they're trying to teach. That's grotesque. If a tamada is doing that, that's not good. So, for instance, a tamada that would be like, tonight, I really want these people to know about the sacrifices of the Russian martyrs. And that's their table. That's just gross. It's not allowed. Because the tamada service is to the table. And so you might want them to know about that. And if they did, they might be better for it. But wait a minute. You're misusing your authority. The question is, as a tamada, is who are these people? And what is it about these highest themes that you want to elevate within their own world, not in yours? So, for instance, Buck, I can bet money right now if I do a toast. I can even try one if you want. I can bet money right now. Well, I'll do one.
Yeah, let's do it.
I'll do one. So I'd like to make a toast, if I could, to the things in this world, right, that make us stop and wonder. Art is the thing that makes us wonder. And the reason it makes us wonder is because it elevates the everyday. And it gives it an image for us to see, if only for a moment, whether it be sewing or whether it be painting, that reminds us of beautiful things. And so to the things in the world that make us stop and wonder, right, to the beauty of art, then we would say, Gagimarjos, cheers, which means to your victory. And when you and I just did that now, we would drink, and that would be an invitation to someone at the table to toast you. Because my toast is to the highest thing. And now someone at the table really is invited. My toasts are always invites, as the tamada. I'm inviting. And now someone at the table should take that theme and say, I would like a toast tamada. And then I would bless them to take it. Please. And then they would say, I would like to toast a Buck in the work you're doing on your podcast. Because though you might not think of it as art, it elevates these ideas in me. And I want to thank you for your art, the art of your podcast. Gagimarjos. And they're taking my theme and they're adding to it in the particular. Now, here's what I want to say. I could now, as Tamada, be like, I would just like to add that some podcasts are better than others. Bucks allows us to think of orthodoxy and allows us to get closer to Christ through the words. And I think it's important we all remember that we should spend time on the podcasts that are matter the most. Like, that's gross.
Right.
I just jumped from being a Tamada to some sort of missionary.
Yeah.
What is that?
Or a sales pitch, right?
Yeah, like thanks for playing, Tamada. But you just made all of us wonder if the next thing I want to say is allowed. You see? I just killed half the table. Even if it was filled with Orthodox, I just killed half the table.
Yes.
And the other half I elevated. And the job of the Tamada is always to elevate everyone. It's really hard, though. And so the reason this figures into the film is this isn't a gotcha piece. This isn't us trying to get anybody. Oh, Rick Warren said this. Ha, gotcha. That's not really it. It's like it's to bring everybody out. And then, of course, we're Orthodox. So of course, it's an Orthodox film. This is hard for some people to understand. I'm sorry if I'm talking too much.
You're not at all.
This is hard for people to understand. You will have an Orthodox house because you are a believer in Christ in the tradition of the church. You'll have an Orthodox house. You don't have to go paint a cross on the front of it. If you want to, you can. I'm not against it. Go for it, bro. But you turned it into something else now. You did something like marketing. And one of my assertions, again, is the Western Christianity, whatever that is, they've lost track of the fact that their Christianity is now marketing. They're not the same thing. There is no compulsion to market your deepest beliefs. That's not a compulsion. And I know we can get into it.
Yes.
I know we can get into it as an idea that the Great Commission does ask us to go out and market our. I don't want to get into that fight, but we could. I just don't think that's a proper way to understand and represent your faith. And so the table and our film are a beautification of the things that are the highest in Christianity and the highest for me anyway. And this is where there's some tension. It's not the ideas, but it's the actual act of hospitality. The actual act of hospitality is probably the greatest expression of Christianity that I think there is for me. What do you think of that, Buck?
I think it's good. I want to say what's up to, I believe it must be Father Deacon Ananias in the chat. Patricia.
Ooh, right on.
He says hello.
We're pals.
Yes.
Hi, Deacon Ananias. Well, I mean, we haven't spoken much since he was so kind to invite me to speak at Montanica.
One of the things I was noticing, we talked about it the last time you were on, and the spirit you're kind of getting at this moment, it's there's let's say a puritanical spirit within the West, within America. I can go off under what that's led to, overseas wars and stuff, where you're saying you have to be like us, so we make you like us. Right. But I think a lot of what you do is you go overseas and you meet people where they're at their level, rather than trying to force Christianity on top of them. Is that correct? Is that a good way to put that? And
that's right.
Are we going to see some of that in this documentary?
So here's a great question. If someone is at the point of practicing juju, juju is a type of traditional religion in West Africa. We see it all the time. Our guys talk about it. Some of our guys have actually been taken in, sort of confused by it. And so, yeah, that's a good story if you want to tell it. So how do I meet someone who's at the level of juju? He's practicing juju, like he's killing chickens and saying prayer. It's a whole, the practice is it happens on lots of levels, but fundamentally the idea is to appease the gods, small gods, not the creator. Usually there's a creator god within the juju traditions, but there's all these demons spirits running around, and you appease them with certain types of offerings, often blood offerings. And the reason for that is they give you the authority and the power then to operate on their behalf and get the thing you want. So I saw a bull sacrifice in Haiti. That was a calf to the goddess Erzuli. Someone's going right now, what were you doing there, buddy? That's terrible. Well, it was happening in my neighborhood. I was walking by, I got invited in, and I was standing there watching it. Probably should have left. Whoa, it was crazy. But that thing was for this. She was a very wealthy woman, was calling Erzuli to get her husband back, as it turned out. And so her husband had left, and that's a dangerous thing to be a single woman in Haiti. Anyway, long story. So what do you do when you meet that person? That's a juju person. Let's just call them a practitioner of the ancient art of juju. I don't know, Buck, what do you think? Like, because it ties into the film. Should you sit down with them? Now, I'm talking about the person. Should I sit with the person who I know to be practicing juju? I'm sitting with the person known to be practicing juju. I'm doing that.
Of course.
Now, if they pull out a talisman right there and ask me for a little blood, probably not doing that. There's some sort of line there where we moved into their sacred art or not so sacred art. It's still a mystical art. It's a demonic art if you're Orthodox. And so, hold on. I'm probably not going to offer some blood from my finger for your thing. I'm probably actually just going to get up right now. But if you don't do that, isn't there a way we can find one another in a conversation or over a meal? How could we not? Like, how could we not be able to find each other? And by each other, what I mean is something like what God made us to be. Is it because I'm just too scared? What is it that's stopping me? And here's the tension. When my brother and I fight, it's often about that moment. Not that Father Peter wouldn't sit down with them. I think he would. He would just be more like this. Why would I waste time doing that? And folks who know him well will be like, yeah, that's how he is. Why am I doing that again? Why would I put my kids again in a big room full of juju people? Like, why would I do that? It's a big waste of my time. You want to go talk to him? Go ahead. I don't understand that on some level. Because if I keep following that path, what's going to happen is I'm just going to sequester myself. Because why would I go to that grocery store when that guy's an Orthodox guy? I go to the Orthodox guy's grocery store. But I kind of like that grocery. I'm going to constantly be moving toward the one place that I've already confirmed as good. Always in my whole life. The problem is am I being asked to do that? And so Father Peter and I battle on this sometimes. It's like, really? You're going to go and like spend time talking about the Ethiopian Orthodox Church? I'm like, yeah, because I was in it and I lived in Ethiopia for a short time and it was quite compelling. Bum, bum, bum. Like, are you sure you're going to do that? I'm like, I'm sure I'm going to do that. I also met this really nice character who's studying to be an Orthodox priest in the Ethiopian tradition. And he's my friend. Bum, bum, bum. Like, what am I going to do now? I'm going to go to his house and have some chicken. And so there is this tension. And I think it's not just a tension between these two brothers. I think it's a tension that's built into the Great Commission and what it means to actually be in the art of missionary work, like what it actually looks like. And I try to take my cues from people like St. Herman. Now, someone's going to jump on here and go, yeah, but St. Herman did this and that. I know. But if you look fundamentally at his life, it was simple. And people came to him more often than he went to them. And there's some tension there that we're going to try to work out on this in this film. And I think it might get kind of ugly.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I think I'm going to be. I think I'm like a perennialist or something. I think
Oh,
there's going to be that kind of implication for a lot of people who expect one thing out of Orthodoxy. Now there's somebody going, "What is this guy, a Fortamite? What's going on?"
right. I assume they're going to not believe Father Peter Heers' brother would be a Fortamite, but hey, there's all kinds of folks.
Hey, but I just want you to know, since the trailer came out already, there's some stuff going on where people are like, "Who is this? Why is he drinking alcohol?" I was like,
Oh,
"Alcohol is
really?
a thing. Yeah, that's already happening." I can't support a film where there's alcohol. And by the way, there's more than one person doing this. So if you think you're that person on our small community, you're not. You are, but there's others. So don't feel. I'm not calling you out. I'm calling them all out. Yeah, alcohol is a thing. Like, I know I do a shot in the film. I got it already. Maybe you don't do a shot of alcohol though. In Georgia, I've witnessed monks do that. So maybe they're just crazy people or something. I don't know.
Literally done that at my parish. Hope I'm not outing myself for something wrong, but
Bum, bum, bum.
I have my priest's blessing. I can promise you that.
No, but there's a tension though, right? Because at the same time, I get it. You don't want a trailer or a film that's filled with debauchery. That's a thing.
Sure. That's most films.
Right. Right. I could go on, but I hope people are seeing what I'm trying to say is that the film takes place on two levels. One is the story of the world and how we know ourselves as Christians. And where does this thing stop and start? Right? Like the YMCA, the Young Men's Christian Association, last time, is that a church? Like, is it? Like, it's a good question, actually. If I go to work out at the YMCA, am I participating in some sort of Protestant, I don't know, sacramental activity?
Mm-hmm.
Now, I think most people are going to go, no, John, duh. But honestly, right next door is the chapel. Am I supporting them by paying? Like, what am I doing exactly? It gets confusing, right? And so there is a tension about the inside and the outside and how they meet and where they meet. And I think we're going to explore that.
Do you don't have to name if so, but do you have any, let's say, Baptist or Methodist preachers that have agreed to be on yet?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes for Baptist.
Yes for Baptist. Okay.
Yes. We will sit down with a Baptist preacher.
Are we sitting down with anyone outside of the Christian faith?
I want to.
Okay.
I definitely want to, because I think it would be very interesting to find that perspective, especially a unique perspective. I think from the other side of the table, there's less interest in that from, say, a certain brother of mine.
Fair. Okay. Someone is saying, can you get John Crowder on? I don't know that name.
I will write that down. This is the kind of thing that's wonderful. Hi, guys. Feel free to do that kind of thing. And especially if you're connected to folks in these Christianities, if you're connected in a way, 7 degrees of separation or 6 degrees of separation, we'll track it down. It's our job. We have our list, but we're going to grow that list because people are going to say yes and no. And so far we're doing okay.
Is there an email they can send you some info at?
Absolutely. If you guys want to hit me up and drop suggestions, it's John Heers, my name, at first, FIRST, first dash things, THINGS.org. John Heers at first-things.org.
They could probably hit up your brother as well, and his stuff.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
His contacts are easy to find as well.
Yep. That's all very beloved. And again, it's nice to know who you would love to hear from. That's really good. It's even better if you say, I know a guy, because we have some footprints, but they tend to be in the same areas. And so to get outside of some of those footprints would be very helpful. And you can tell and be sure it's not, look, there may be gotcha moments, not because we planned them, but there may be moments when, not everybody looks equally the same. Believe me. I tell this story real quick. On my first trip to Mount Athos with my brother, we got off the boat, and my brother knows this. It's a very interesting story. And basically a really loud guy comes walking at us who appears to be a monk, wide-eyed, and starts telling us all the things we shouldn't do while we're on the mountain. It was a crazy moment of craziness. And it was uncomfortable. The guy was super rude. And then that was my introduction. Literally, that was my introduction to Mount Athos. And I walked away going, what was that about? And my brother's like, he's just a zealot. Don't worry about it. Just let it go. And then you realize right away, the Garden of Eden is also, it's a unique garden. So we're not, everybody's got sideways weeds, in their garden. It's okay. It's fine. Everything's fine. So we're not going to make fun of anybody because they're not an Orthodox Christian on this film ever. That's, of course, at least not on my watch. I'm not doing that. Maybe they cut it in a way. That won't happen though. It's not going to happen.
I definitely have faith that will not happen. Things will not be edited to make, let's say, a Baptist preacher look, I don't know if you've ever seen Religulous by Bill Maher's old.
I have.
It's like he was going around trying to find less intelligent folks to kind of look goofy and make it look like, well, see, the atheist is the smart one of this, so.
Well, here's the thing, Buck. Here's what we know is going to happen. It's going to get edited because that's how it works. Something's going to get left out. And in the end, something's going to get left out that could have changed the narrative on some level. But the people making this, my brother, Stephen, Downey, and myself, there is no intention of doing that. There's no, we could get an extra million clicks. You really think Father Peter's doing it like that? Like, he's not doing it like that. You think I'm doing it like that? I could barely get 5,000 subscribers. I'm not that interested in that. I don't care about that. But what I do care about is that something is made that's beautiful. Like, I want something to be really beautiful, because I've never known anybody to go, wow, that was so beautiful, and then go, don't want any of that.
Right.
What a magnificent cake. This pie is incredible. It's beautiful. It tastes delicious. Don't want any more of that. Like, that's not the way it works. It doesn't work like that. So
what do we know what Jonathan Pajot, what his contribution might be?
He's going to get interviewed. He's already said yes. And he's super interested too. When I chat with him on the interwebs, he also, the dynamic between brothers, I think, is something that has intrigued him. And because he's got a brother, and there's something about that I think he finds interesting from all of our, not just from one conversation, but from different conversations. And so I'm really, I can't wait to sit down with him. I just think I think he one of those characters that does a good job on the outside. So he tends to be someone that I gravitate toward. And but there's all kinds of people, man. Like, there's a Catholic who I know who's willing anyway. I don't know if we'll be able to get him in, but he's a kind of a famous theologian. And he's actually at our dinner. He can riff, man. He's going to give you the Catholic download. My job as the interviewer, though, is to try to get beyond the download, beyond the styrofoam of the container that holds the pearl. And most people are presenting the container. They're not presenting the pearls. They're not presenting their vulnerabilities. They're not presenting the thing that actually was at the core of why they call themselves this thing. And I think my goal is to try to get there. And as a Tamada, I'm learning how to do that. As the poetic person of this feast, It's weird, guys. When you do something lots and lots of hours, you can't explain why you're getting good at it. You're just getting good at it. You know, I had like 14 tables in 18 days in April and May. And if you do 14 tables of strangers together and you're trying to unite them, so each table's 3 or 4 hours. So you're talking about like a lot of hours of hearing people try to be together. It's really fascinating, Buck.
Yeah, it would be, but I think I would actually enjoy something like that, to be honest. I also want to ask, you mentioned in one of the trailers that I saw, you're not looking necessarily for logical, reasoned arguments. Is that the case?
That's me.
Okay. Because you're going to get that, I assume.
Well, let's put it like this. A better way to say it is, and again, if my brother was the front man, he would be able to say it better than I do. There should be a logical argument. There should be a good theological argument that stands up to, you know, canonical tradition, and we will be in that space. But that can't be the space of the entire documentary. First of all, for me, and this is the tension again, it doesn't work as a missionary piece. For instance, most people who are returning from this freezer of modernity where everything got frozen except for our calculating minds, now that people are unthawing, they don't want more of their rational argument. They already got that. They've become computerized. They've become good at data. They kind of go like, oh, please show me something beautiful. Like, so we need to be careful. But a part of any good apology is logical conversation. Like, you can't just be like, just trust me. God is right, present, dude. I'm a Christian. Okay, but you got to tease that, right?
Mm-hmm.
On the other hand, theologian after theologian after theologian after theologian is not a missionary endeavor. I don't know. Sorry to all you theologian types. It's just not a missionary endeavor. It's not what it is. It's not. Cyril and Methodius created a language. I just want anybody to know I was able to. Sorry to go on and on. I really want to tell you this, though, Buck.
Yeah, please.
I was in a very unique moment in the country of Mali, which is in West Africa, in 1991. Here's what they were doing. I just want you to hear this because it's fascinating.
Yeah.
The state of Mali, the nation of Mali, which was, it's a colonial hand-me-down from the French, was alphabetizing the language of Bambara. So what were they doing? They were doing what Cyril and Methodius were doing, but for the church. And they weren't two people. It's like the whole nation was creating a movement to turn their language into a written language that could be passed down. And so Cyril and Methodius, they did a lot more than that. I don't want to fight anybody on the finer aspects of Cyril and Methodius, but they were trying to do something for the Slavs, like say, hey, here's a language you can worship God in. And the Malian government was trying to say, here's a language you can actually operate in the modern world because you can read it and write it and create books. Well, guess what? This is amazing for me. I was living in that village. It was in my second year. I had become well-versed in Bambara, the local language, and I could do this thing that only two other people could do in the village of Sendala, where I lived. I could read and write. And I knew Bambara. So I want everyone to follow now. I became the teacher of Bambara to Bambara speakers because I could read and write. And I want you to know how crazy boring that was. It was awful. It was boring. Cat, C-A-T. Here's how it's pronounced. Here's how it's written. And like grown people, brilliant, smart people who had just, they're in their 40s. They'd just been farmers their whole life. I loved them. They took care of me. They were smart. They knew everything about soil. They knew everything about wind. But now I'm trying to teach them like dog, D-O-G. That's what I did all day long. It's not sexy, people.
No.
It's not sexy. Okay, so that was a missionary activity of Cyril and Methodius. Do you think it was sexy? Do you think it was like a theological conversation they were having with the Slavs? Do you think they were like, and then I want to talk about the Canon 5 in the Third Ecumenical Council? That's not what they were doing, like at all. Like at all. They were just writing, rewriting, writing again. It wasn't interesting on that level. They weren't creating a massive unity of Orthodox Christians by talking about theology. No offense to anybody out there. That's not what they were doing at all. You think King Saint Vladimir was like extolling the higher virtues of the canons when he was like baptized all of Russia? He was mostly talking about, okay, your crazy spirits are a little like these crazy spirits. So they're not having some deep theology. Those are very important and essential. Are they missionary work? You got to watch out. You're just speaking to like this handful of people over and over again in these circles. And so how do people come to something? Because it's beautiful. We gave the Slavs, Cyril and Methodius, Greeks gave the Slavs an opportunity to access the divine liturgy. I don't know if you've ever been in the divine liturgy, Buck, but no one's going like the finer points of the theology. They're not talking like that at the divine liturgy. They're calling you into a deep, profound reality that's, beautiful. Did you hear Ian McGilchrist recently? Ian McGilchrist, the philosopher linguist, the doctor who studies the brain, Ian McGilchrist. He's not Christian.
Okay.
He just said this, and I highly go recommend it. It's on Justin Brierly's. Justin Breyer. I interviewed him for our podcast. He's like the foremost Protestant media guy in England right now. He's the guy bringing sexy back to Europe. He's bringing Christianity back. He's really powerful in England. Or let me put it this way. He's known. And he's quite a sweet guy. And he had on Ian McGilchrist, who was previously an atheist. But McGilchrist is something like a cultural Christian, and they're talking. And McGilchrist says very clearly, he's asked by Brierly, hey, so are you a Christian? Do you consider yourself a Christian? And McGilchrist says, I don't know. Perhaps I'm a cultural Christian, he says, but I'm not really proud of that. I will tell you this. I once, over 30 years ago, walked into I was in the Soviet Union, and I walked into an Orthodox church sort of by luck. And I went in there and I looked around, and I had never been so moved, and I've never been so moved since. Now, hold on. This is a guy writing really important books today. And he said two things happened. The first thing that happened was it was like in heaven. I don't know what was going on. I had never been and felt this way. And the second thing he said and the second thing was that at the entrance and in the front of the church were these thugs in leather jackets writing down names and writing descriptions of the people that had come to the church with me. And yet people had come to the church. And he said, those two things make me want to be a Christian more than anything that's ever happened in my life. Bam. He said that. Go look at it. Justin Brierly. It's called The Surprising Rebirth of Christianity. Surprising Rebirth. Yeah. I highly recommend it, because what you have there is a highly intellectual man whose intellectual capacities are not the reason that he extols Christianity at all. And so we want to make a film that can carry that water. It's not going to be easy, but I think we can do it.
Yes. I have spoken to people since, I hate this word, but whatever, along my own journey that were, let's say, spiritual, not religious, and sometimes being too up in your head, which I think is a Western Christianity. We're swimming in it. So for whatever the faults are of it, I have those faults.
Sure.
But that can turn certain people away, thinking like, I thought this was a spiritual thing. You're talking about like an academic or a philosopher, and while on one hand that does attract certain people, and I think we need people. I think Jay Dyer is very good at this.
He's great.
And yeah, he has a true talent, but there are folks that are reached in different ways that aren't up in the mind and intellectualizing. And even, I can't remember which one of my guests said this. It might've been Father Moses McPherson. In fact, it was. He said, when I first converted, it wasn't that I had to find out which church was the oldest and which had the most history and things of that. And it's like, it was the first time I heard a priest say that. And
Mm-hmm.
it was different from my own experience because I learned about it and I'm like, well, yeah, this is the oldest church and this is the oldest, like this, Peter, St. Peter was the first bishop, or not technically bishop, but you understand where I'm.
The pieces fit.
That
right?
turned me on.
Yeah.
That stimulated my mind and then later on my heart. But there's a lot of people that doesn't reach in the same way.
So, man, you speaking it. I think it's the same for all things, though. So, for instance, I needed a historical explanation that helped me a lot. But the thing that really turned me on was that I had experienced Muslims praying 5 times a day and then fasting. I had never been a faster. I had been an Episcopalian. As I always tell my brother, if he's still listening, we were raised by heretics. Bum, bum, bum. So like we were. But here's what I'm trying to say is there had been a beauty to something like the Islamic rhythm of life. And then I was like, nah, Allah, I'm not down with that. Like the logical parts didn't make sense to me. Christ was still like logically like, okay, but where's the real Christ? And then I went on a journey and historically it was explained to me like it's right here. But then guess what happened? The thing that was explained to me is the original church, through books I was reading, also said Wednesday and Friday are different than Thursday and Saturday. And I was like, oh, so what? So what do? You fast and you don't eat certain food. Oh, the majesty is coming around for me. And then like you stand in certain places and you sit in certain places for other reasons. This is why you stand. Just don't sit down. And then I'm like, oh, there's majesty. There's something transcendent that's all the way up to the top, that's coming all the way down to the bottom and making me move my body differently. You see what I'm saying? It's like there was a change that I could see in this kind of theology that said it matters how you are here. And it's not just do what you want here and think good thoughts about Jesus. It was suddenly it was both. And so I think that's what it's like for everything, though. God became man so the man can become like God. So there's already a unity, right? As Pajot's always saying, there's already a unity and a multiplicity that somehow are one. Yes. There's already something about us that needs both.
Yes.
So like I need my brother and he needs me, or my mother needed my father needed and I needed both to become both. Like I'm both. It's always 1 and 3 or 1 and many. It's always. Yes. And so we become foolish. So my brother is talented at theology and he can quickly take deep, profound, difficult theology and turn it into action or how to act. Okay. He can do that. That's his talent. But he needs other stuff. The saints are the saints because, right, they had humility in the face of all that is. And so Father Peter also needs all these lazy people called me. He needs that opposite in order to be fully expressed in the world. And he would agree with me. Type it in there, bro. Type it in. Is he still on?
He's not.
I need my big brother. Did he leave?
Oh, you're the older one.
I'm older.
Okay.
So that's not like if that's a revelation to people, then you're too far to one side. Something's wrong with you. If you don't think you need the thing that you kind of sometimes despise, that's kind of something's wrong with you. Like you're a Puritan.
Mm-hmm.
No offense. Like, I know you want everyone to be so clear and true, but it'll become an awful place to live. You need the humility to see that the other is central to your being. And how do I know that? Because that's the way Christianity, that's the way it plays out.
Yes, the both and.
Yeah. It just plays out like that. Reality plays out like that. Reality plays out with that. You see you see a sick little tree grow out of sick little soil, and yet it grows because the seed needed the soil. You needed both. And yet there's life. Like, and you like that's a sick little life. No, man, the seed and the soil were just enough. but the seed by itself, the soil by itself cannot do it. You can try to do it like they do and grow synthetic plants. It's dead though. It's death. So now someone's going, yeah, but you don't need evil. Because now we're down a really interesting theological conversation, and this will get in the film.
Okay, good.
No, you don't need evil. I know what you're saying, but God saves us through the fall. Like he's using it.
Yes.
If you don't think he's using it, you're a crazy person.
Yes.
You know?
I mean, there's a lot of us in a category that I would call, and this is not my original term, COVID converts. That's exactly what that is.
Isn't that amazing though?
Yeah.
Because I don't want COVID again. On the other hand, whoa.
Yeah.
Like what? And this is where people like Father Peter are amazing, which is glory to God for all things. Just don't forget that. Just don't forget that. That's why a great preacher is a great preacher. Glory to God for all things. You're like, that's so simple. Anybody can say that. No, anybody can say it, but who can live like that? Try living like that. It's nuts. It really is nuts. Because how about this one? I'm in the business of trying to garner donations so that our guys can go do this incredible work. Go look it up. www.first-things.org. There's my ad. Go check it out. But big donor comes on board, sees what we're doing, all ready to donate, and then they look and they go, you know what? I'm going to give my $1 million or whatever. I'm making this up. This didn't happen, sort of, maybe. I'm going to give my $1 million to my son. I just want to make sure he has enough in life. Glory to God for all things? Not that. That sucks. The son is already worth $25 million. Why I got to be glorying God for that? Sorry. Glory to God for all things. It didn't say for the things that really make you happy. It's for all things. So something's good in that. Something's good. I might not see it, but something's good. And so there's something good in all these Christianities. I don't know what it is. Our film is going to find out what it is. There's something good. That doesn't mean, I'm not saying for people that are listening, there's something good about Mormonism. There probably is. I don't even know. The state of Christianity today is offering something. It's offering something. That doesn't mean it's good, but there's something to be gleaned. And so that's what we're going to go on a journey to. What's going on with all these Christianities? Like, how is this? What is this to us? So I like that film.
So,
I'd support that film.
Yeah, I would too. How can these people support that film?
Mark, I love you. You heard that. So there's an Indiegogo. It's right over here. I should actually call it up, shouldn't I? Hold on one second.
Let's do it. One of the ways I could give also is by doing some ads for it on my show, which would be possibly helpful. I can do that too.
It would be very helpful.
Okay.
You go over here to feature documentary, Christianities. It's Indiegogo.com projects Christianities. And you can include that link in our show notes or right on the chat.
Yep.
We're trying to get to over 100 grand. We're at 60 right now. And all of this goes to the budget. Like my brother and I aren't getting paid. The director is getting paid because you know what, guys? You got to pay for stuff in this world. That's how it works.
Yep.
The more we can get the director to take his awesome equipment and his crew to wherever we're going, the more chance we'll have to reach more and more people. And more people should try to figure out what's going on with all these Christianities, especially when it's often a stumbling block. That there's so many is often a stumbling block to people who are waking up to like, what should I do? And often they'll just go like, nah, clearly they don't have their shit together. So I'm not going to even go down this Christian road. And so we want to get out there and use this talent of this director, Stephen, to make beautiful stuff. And so we're trying to raise the money now. This is the beginning. I just want people to know this is the beginning. There'll be private asks on this. This is so we can again, this is how films work. Unless you have a really big crowd ready to film, send you $1 million, or you got some donor, or you got producers, Hollywood, which we don't want to mess around with that.
Right.
Then, unless you got all that, this is how you do it. You raise little by little, private asks, and eventually somebody says, "I'm going to go in because what you've made so far is brilliant." And so that's what we're doing.
Excellent. Is there anything you'd like to get out there that I've not asked about or we haven't touched on as far as what people should know about it?
I think we touched on most of it at the risk of me just hearing my own voice going on and on. I will say this, that if you've ever watched, for better or worse, Anthony Bourdain. So
Yes.
Anthony Bourdain, who was many things to many people. One thing he was, though, I saw him go to Georgia. One thing he was authentic.
Mm-hmm.
He might say stuff you don't like or hold positions you don't like, but when he came and sat down with you, he sat down with you. And he was in search of food. And if you think about our documentary that way, we're in search of the real taste, what's really going on out there. And what is that to us? Not just Orthodox, but what is it to Westerners? How do they make sense of all these Christianities? And we're going to do it around the idea that I'm on a journey to meet people, and people are sort of the fruit. And what fruit are they bearing, and how do they sound, and what are they saying? And so the goal is not just to talk to people who live in your town, but it's to talk to people who live in this big wide world, which I think would really be helpful, especially if we shoot it in a beautiful way. So
let's see. There was a question that was, where we go? From Silver Pie for John. How do we help those who find Orthodox practices off-putting, like the saints, the icons, Theotokos, etc.?
I have an answer. I gave this to a friend of mine who was struggling. When you burn incense in your prayer corner and you stand quietly before the icons, everybody in your house, even if they don't want to come to prayer, will participate because their nose is going to get filled up. This happens in my house. I'm often the one not lighting it. But what I learned is when I wanted my kids to, you got to pray. What I started to realize is if I just lit the incense, it goes where it goes. And a friend of mine was really struggling with this, and he just started lighting incense, and his family was not coming down for prayer until about 2.5 years later. And he built a community within his own house. And so always light your incense, even when you're in public. So don't hear incense there. This is metaphor. But cross yourself over your food. It wafts out. You don't have to tell anybody anything. If your uncle or whoever, if your family members are finding things off-putting, then do it, but do it less so, because they can't handle the smell of the incense. So
Yet.
So do just enough that you're honoring God, but not so much that you make it stink for the people around you. And what I mean by that is like you said, Buck, yet we know that frankincense is just marvelous, but not for everybody. So that's what generosity, that's what hospitality is. Hospitality is generosity toward the other, not toward yourself. It's seeing the other and knowing what they need. And often you want to go, what they need is what I have. No, that's not true.
Right.
What they need is the proper dose of what you have. If what you have is beautiful, you might have something ugly, by the way. But if it is beautiful and you truly believe it is, that doesn't mean that it just downloaded. There's no right for you to share everything you have. No one's giving you that right. But if you love your neighbor and you love your people, a proper dose. And for some, the dose might be not even a waft yet. It might not even be anything yet. Just your presence without any of the bells, the things that you describe as off-putting. Maybe you don't do any of those things. Maybe. That's the art of the tamada.
Yeah,
When you see your table can't handle a song to the Theotokos, then you don't sing it. Why would I sing it? Just to prove to them something? Like, I'm proving to you. No, not yet. Maybe I just give a toast to beautiful things, to beautiful women who have done hard things in their life. Maybe that's a toast to the Theotokos. Maybe that's the smell of incense they need, if that makes sense.
It does. That is beautifully put. It's yeah, well done. That should be clipped from here, which is my job. I might do that. Let's see. Anything else before we get out of here?
No, just that the timeline is our fundraiser right now, where we get, bonuses from Indiegogo and stuff. I think we have 3 weeks left. So if you're thinking about giving $10, $20, whatever, if you want to become a producer, if you want to go to Georgia with me, there's a way to donate. And then that donation means I'll take you to Georgia, me and you. And that's included in the donation. There's a donation where you become a co-producer, like you can participate in the making of it. These are big donations. But if you just want to give 10, 15, 20, whatever you want to give, don't do it. Don't do like most people do, like including me, like, oh, I'll get around to that. Like, do it right now, because at some point that's going to be over. And we want you to be in there before it's over so that we can meet our goals.
Yep. Excellent. Someone said Orthodox family life, referencing the analogy you were using. Isn't that how God deals with us? Well put.
Yes. Oh, I love that. Who is that? That's a great comment.
Orthodox
Imagine if he didn't.
Life. Right.
Imagine if that's not how he dealt with us. It would just be impossible. We just explode all the time. We couldn't handle it.
Of all people, an Orthodox boomer grandma is asking, can they give Bitcoin?
I don't think so. Darn it, Orthodox grandma. We need to make that a thing.
Yeah.
I'll send that info over, and it's possible.
Okay.
At this moment, I don't believe it is.
Okay. Cool. Thank you guys for being a part of our live stream. This will be up on the Counterflow YouTube page under live. I think it's going to be under that section. It will live there, as the kids like to say. And John, thanks for doing this with us. And I'm excited about this film. I'm excited about Mount Athos too, which we talked.
You should be. I probably underplayed it because it's really amazing. On the other hand, it's all those other things. I love you, Buck, man. You are always doing good things by our work, First Things. And just one last thing. This film it'll help me to get traction too, as a First Things Foundation.
Yes.
Person. Like, hey, that's that guy that made that film. That's definitely in play here, but you're not donating to First Things. This is a separate endeavor. It's a collaboration. It's not a donation to First Things. I want everybody to understand that. I do believe in the end, though, if I give good work and work hard on this, that it'll be for the glory of God, but also it'll help our work. But I could be wrong. God knows. Awesome talking to you, Buck, always.
Yes, sir. I'll end this stream. Thank you guys for being here. We'll talk soon to all of you. Advertise my own show. This is similar, the way this was kind of, it seems like, close knit here. We were all talking, got to chat back and forth. Every month I do a Patreon show for my supporters, and you can join that if you donate $5 or more per month at patreon.com/counterflow. You don't have to, John. I'm just throwing this out.
No. It's time. I should put up or shut up.
How long will this documentary be is the question someone's asking also.
Full length, hour and 20 minutes.
Look at that. Look at this live stream is about to end at exactly that same amount of time. So about this long. About this long.
People are like, oh God, please. No, that was killing me.
There's going to be a lot better guests and people speaking than me. So you guys, thank y'all for being here, and we'll talk soon to y'all.
Peace out.